Hello, fermented folks.
We have P. Jelly Clark.
All Makatsu.
We have Travis Baldry.
Today we have a really special guest, Leopoldo Gout.
Are you reeling it in and defending clowns?
I am. Earth doesn't even exist in Battlestar Galactica.
This show gives me heartburn. It's like, I loves it, I hate it.
It's called All Fluff.
Oh!
If you didn't know how I actually feel about The Mandalorian,
Don't worry,
this is it right here. Hello, fermented folks. Welcome to another episode of Fermented Fiction. I think we're going to call this one a preseason episode because it's that time of year if you happen to be a football fan or if you happen to be a fermented fiction fan, as season 5 officially kicks off in September. But we squeezed in a couple really awesome episodes because we got some topical movies and we got some badass people who are willing to come on here and yell about fiction with us. Today's said badass person is Arley Sorg. Thanks for coming back on, Arley. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, despite the crushing defeat I delivered to my opponent last time. I came back to have more fun.
Humbly said, as always, my friend.
So good.
You might remember Arley Sorg from Days of Yore, i.e. last season when he debated Godzilla -1 with us. If you don't remember that, you should go check it out because it was really fun. And we're going to have a good time today as well, talking about Superman. But before we do that, we're going to go around the table and do some personal updates. And y'all better have one because it's been a couple months, so no excuses. And let's start with you, Jeremy.
What, I can't have paused my life in the intervening time?
No.
Okay.
Your life always on pause, bruh.
I resent that, although I don't disagree. So, hey, yeah, here we go. But, I learned something fascinating that I don't know what to do with, which is that if you Google or you look up on the American Kennel Club the Finnish Spitz, which is the type of dog I have,
Okay.
you will see a picture of my dog's father, her biological dad. That's him.
Dang.
Old Zoomy. Just repping all of Finland, I suppose.
Wow.
And Everett, Washington.
Another deadbeat dad caught on camera.
It's actually
in 4K. In 4K.
Hey, he's putting in the work. When we adopted Isla, right? So there was an accidental second litter of puppies available because he got out and got down to business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
while someone was supposed to be taking a break.
Sounds like a deadbeat dad.
Just hitting it and quitting
Exactly. Where's
Look.
the palimony?
it. That's what I want to know.
Where's your
Hey,
He
check?
does have only one job, and he was just
precisely.
extra effective.
Just doing his job.
Yeah, can you really fault the guy for just doing his job double?
Yeah, he just really cares. He's
grinding.
putting in overtime. He's got
Yeah,
that
grinding.
Rise and grind, please.
Good. Thank you, Jeremy. You were prepared, my friend. I missed you. It's good to have you back for another
That's
season.
a life update.
Colin, speaking of being back for another season,
Come back to me.
yeah, you want to be the big finish. Colin's got
Yeah.
got a great personal update. Travis,
Yeah, I had one prepped, and then something happened to me this morning that I have to nerd out about. But this morning, there's a show. I'm not gonna take too much time, hopefully. There's a show I watch for my politics called Ku-Wei, and the show's called The Morning Meeting, and their whole thing is like trying to bring in as many voices as possible and have a nuanced discussion and stuff. And so but they do this by having a Zoom link that fans can jump on, and you can like raise your hand and ask these like professionals in the political sphere questions. And like it's like 3 big guys. Like one of them was a Democratic analyst for Hillary Clinton. One of them was Trump's press secretary in 2016 years, Sean Spicer, and the other guy worked in media forever. Anyway, I went on the link for the first time today, Like I'd never gone on, and I raised my hand, and they called on me, and it was like really cool. So I got to ask 2 questions like on their YouTube live show, and they used my second question as like one of the YouTube clips on there. So if you go to two-way, my question like pops up right at the front, and I was like, yeah. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah. Okay. What was your question?
I asked them about trajectories of the economy, specifically related to, because they've been talking about like foreign imports and Christmas lists and stuff might be a little rough. And I'm like, well, middle America doesn't care too much about the Christmas list when it comes down to it. We want to know about groceries and gas stations. And so like, what are those looking like? And that was my question. Like, can I buy food and get gas in my car in the future? And they answered in typical political fashion, but it was good. It was good. I was excited to see it.
Nice. Good question to ask. Probably a depressing answer. But you know, what are you gonna do? I'll go. Congrats, Chav, on getting on that. That sounds like a good time. Sounds like a show worth checking out if you're looking for. You know, it's always good to listen to lots of news sources and try to develop your own opinion based on multiple sources. That sounds like a good resource for that. For me, I'll say my personal update is this weekend is the big launch party for Rain Shadows, my book over here. This one. It's all Dark Tales from Washington State. 12 stories in here, 6 from me and 6 from Tamara K. Selman, who's a author friend of mine and somebody I really look up to. She's excellent author, lots of years of experience in the industry. Yeah, really proud of the collection. And the party's going to be very, very fun. We have some slideshows. We have tarot readings. We're going to have a local artist there to sell prints, who does like weird psychedelic art. Gordon B. White will be facilitating an interview. Arley, you won't come because, you know, we're going to have a couple readings. And then we're going to top off the night with a short film that I actually starred in a few years ago. And you know, things are going to happen to me. It's a horror movie, so it's a good time. If you're in the Seattle area, come hang out. It's Sunday at Two Fingers Social at 7:30 p.m. And we'll be going, you know, however long we want to. So yeah, that's me. Arley, you got a personal update there? Or you just want to tell everybody who you are?
I'm Arley Sorg. I'm a literary agent with KT Literary, co-editor-in-chief of Fantasy Magazine, senior editor Locus, do interviews for Clarkesworld, book reviews for Lightspeed, bunch of other stuff. I do a lot of teaching and workshops, blah, 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 blah. The exciting news is like I had a client turn in a manuscript to me. I had another client who just finished a manuscript that they were struggling with for like more than a year. And they finished the first draft, and I kind of had a generative, collaborative conversation to help them get through their struggle point. So that was really exciting. I have another client who may have turned in the final for to their editor for what they're working on. You know, we're never totally certain until the editor comes back with, yeah, this is great.
Right.
And went on sub with another project. So the agenting stuff is going really well. Magazine stuff is great. And just came back from a vacation in Colorado, which was a lot of fun. Went rafting with my boyfriend and did a lot of other touristy shit.
Sure.
Yeah. And just came back from Gen Con Writer Symposium, where I was on 9 panels, but it was awesome and a lot of fun. And there was they have a Ray Bradbury Center and a Kurt Vonnegut Museum, and there was a social event at the Kurt Vonnegut Museum, which was really fun and just really cool. So yeah, busy and good shit. And I'm here now, ready to fight. I feel, you know, there's a lot of testosterone on this call. So it's just getting me more and more amped. Let's go, bro.
Yeah, bro.
That's fair. Also a fair assessment. And we're glad you're adding your testosterone to it as well, Arley. Bringing the heat. All right, Colin. Speaking of bringing more testosterone into the world, why don't you tell us about your personal update?
Oh, hey. Hello, world. We have another podcaster. He doesn't have a website yet, but I guess it has to happen. This is Arthur.
Oh,
and he is my son, and he is pooping right now.
Oh, nice.
God bless him.
Good for you, Arthur. Good
for you,
Yeah.
Arthur.
I wish I
Colin.
I wish I could.
Absolute legend.
Colin isn't mentioning about Arthur's 25.
Yeah, for those of you on Spotify, Arthur is almost 30.
Oh,
And I
yes.
can hold him in my arms, and he weighs 8.5 pounds.
That's very
And,
good.
yeah, he has Merlin sickness. If you've read Hyperion, he's aging backwards.
Congratulations on the new baby, Colin. We're very, very happy for you.
We
All
are.
right, you can come take a night
Oh,
shift
yeah.
and take care of him. That's the best thank you can give to a new parent.
I'm going to do that thing that people have done when they don't want to volunteer for something forever and be like, oh, I would just, babies and me, you know, that your baby would be crying
Babies
even
and
more.
you know.
So it's best specify, you know, otherwise I totally would, though.
It's best for you if I don't.
Yeah, it's best for you guys. Trust me.
You don't want me there. You don't want me there. Not good.
I would just make your baby worse. Traumatized that baby would be.
Yeah, babies
I
are
2 hours
upset by
away.
my whole face and vibe.
In
So-
July, I finished my radiology program. I took my national exam and passed. I have my
Yeah.
license now.
Okay.
And my wife had this baby. And there's probably other stuff that happened, but it's very much
I think we in the industry call that making money moves. For sure.
big money moves for sure.
Depends on the industry.
I mean, I know it's hard to compete with Travis's dog story, but you don't have to try so hard.
Jeremy.
we get it. It's
Jeremy
coming
had
up
the
all
dog
Colin in 20.
I did
Oh,
have
Jeremy,
hey, you know,
Jeremy's
it's all-
dog story.
it's all just
you guys-
notable dads. Oh my god.
You guys' photos moved on my display. I don't even.
Oh.
I'm just. Yeah, that's it.
Arthur, you threw everything off. What the heck?
Thanks for doing that,
Yeah,
Arthur.
it
We
doesn't
needed
matter.
to mix this show up. It's starting to get a little stale.
It's
Well,
good to have a real
congratulations,
professional
Colin.
now.
Congratulations, my friend. We are proud of you. Genuinely, that's awesome. And you guys are good people, bringing more good people into the world. Keep it up.
And especially for our audio listeners, this binky is the only thing holding back just ear splitting a future for you.
Yes. That binky is the pop filter that we all needed. And it's keeping those plosives out of our ears, and for that we thank it. Let's get into a show, should we? About another baby who came to Earth and was raised by some good parents, right? To become Superman. And something that this movie doesn't do, that a lot of superhero movies do, is tell you that part of the story. They just skip right to Superman, being Superman, and fighting Lex Luthor. And I don't really have to tell you too much more about the plot, because that's what the plot is. Superman's fighting Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's being a douche about it. And we're going to see who comes out on top. And it's a Superman movie, so I'll give you 3 guesses. But what we can't guess is the will of the dice gods. And we're gonna find out what that will is right now with our 2 debaters. Today we have Travis representing Fermented Fiction, and we have Arley Sorg coming in as the competitor. His second bout in the Fermented Fiction arena. Who will roll high? Who will roll low? Who will debate which side? Let's find out. Arley, do you have dice?
I don't. I can do digital, or if someone wants to roll on my behalf, I would. Yes, go for
Okay.
it, Clay.
I got
All
you.
right, Clay, you got to beat. I rolled.
It's pretty good. 17.
Yes, I got a 9.
All
I
right.
got a 9. So that was middle of the road. That's not the worst I've rolled.
So I rolled high. That means Arley will be debating for Superman, as in Superman kicks ass. Travis rolled low, so he'll be arguing that Superman sucks. And we'll talk about what we really think after 10 minutes. Jeremy, do you have that 10-minute timer?
Of course I do. Now,
Perfect.
want a good, clean fight, or not that. Like, kind of do whatever. Do what you feel in your heart, if you have one. If not,
you had me worried.
yeah, no,
I was like, I gotta do a clean fight. Shit,
clean fight, or just get in there and wreck some shit. Like, go wild, all below the belt if you can.
Nice.
Okay. So that's gonna happen in 3, 2, 1, go.
Arley, you kick us off.
First.
You kick us off.
Okay, here's the thing: is that you would have to be a total idiot to not enjoy this movie. No judgment. So first of all, it's just a fun movie. It's a comic book. So as a baseline, you have to go in not taking it too seriously. But more than previous iterations of Superman and Justice League and so on and so forth, like we had Zack Snyder taking himself way too seriously. This one harkens back to the feel-good vibes of older Superman movies. This is sort of like a Christopher Reeves brought into modern day, like wholesome. You even want to say, like, in the comic books, Superman, the other heroes usually call him Boy Scout, and you even want to call him a Boy Scout in this movie. And this movie does a great job of counterpositioning his attitude with the attitudes of the other superheroes who are like, yeah, let's crush, let's kill, it's all grim and darkness. And Superman brings that wholesomeness and that light and that energy and that goodness back to the Superman franchise, which is sort of the original heart of Superman's character, as opposed to like Batman. So I think this movie did so many cool things. We could talk about any points. In fact, I think, like, I love the fact that, it's like we don't need to see Superman 101 over and over and over and over. Everybody knows he was an alien. Everyone knows he came on a starship. I really appreciate the fact that we jump right into the story and we get to the 102. It enables the film to do more than otherwise. And I think, like, I don't need a rehash of, like, let's watch Superman growing up. Let's watch Superman meeting his parents. It's so boring and trite and done, like, literally a million times. So I think, the writers and directors took some chances and it paid off.
All right. I'm going to talk about the two lowest hanging fruits. First, with the lowest of the lowest hanging fruits, criticism of this movie. I have 2 dogs, all right, in a small 2-bedroom apartment where I shouldn't have 2 dogs. So I'm a dog person. There was way too much fucking crypto in this movie. Okay, that dog needed to go the hell away. It was great. In like the first 2 scenes, I was like, I love the dog. This is cool. He's like licking his face and he's a fun dog and he's clearly not his dog and he's chaos and that's fun. By scene like 25 of the dog saving the day, I was like, okay, the dog needs to go. Like, part of me, a little tiny little part that did shut up at the end because I love dogs. A small part of me though wished, like, yeah, maybe Lex Luthor could have just killed the dog in the palace like thing, and then we wouldn't have to deal with the dog scenes anymore. That's the lowest hanging fruit. My second criticism of this movie is a general criticism of most James Gunn products, especially with Guardians of the Galaxy. I think he did better with those because he had a little more time to lead up. But with Superman, he did the same thing that was the biggest problem of those movies. It's so bloated. Superman is not the main character in his own film. People walking out of the theater, I heard them talking on the street, cared more about Mr. Terrific, cared more about Hawk Girl, cared more about Guy Gardner, cared more about Lois Lane. And when you probably ask any of them, like, oh, but what'd you think of Superman? Most of them were like, oh, yeah, he was cool. Like, the movie's called Superman. Superman should be the main character of the movie. But James Gunn seemed like totally okay with writing him off in this lackluster way and giving the other characters in the film more funny lines, more agency, more central parts to the story. And Superman kind of just being there as a plot device, I thought was really weak and bad. And I don't like the Snyder Supermans, but I will give it to Snyder. No one doubts who the main character of Man of Steel is. It's clearly Superman, probably to its detriment. But this movie, you kind of can get confused of like, who's this about? Is it about Mr. Terrific? Like, because we've been on him for a good 15 minutes walking around with Lois Lane. Oh yeah, it's about Superman. Oh no, it's about his dog because he's in this again. So that's James Gunn kind of let his character bloating go a little too far. It worked in Guardians. It really did not work in this, in my opinion.
But here's the thing, right? Counterpoint. So this book is really harkening back to the comic book vibe more than recent Marvel movies do. And part of that is bringing in other characters because that is what comic books do. And that's kind of what you need to get away from that 101. The 101 is, oh, it's a movie about Superman. But 102 is like realizing that the DC universe contains so many characters. And I really applaud James Gunn for bringing in underutilized characters that we don't see in a lot of other properties. Like Crypto is in a shit ton of DC comics. And so bringing in Crypto is a bold move that I appreciate. And people who love and read Superman, like I read it when I was a teen and a kid, love to see Crypto and even a little cameo from Supergirl. Mr. Terrific is super underutilized. And if we want to talk about the general lack of people of color in not only comic books, but also comic book movies, having Mr. Terrific and giving him a lot of airtime is a great choice. He's a great character and he's a great foil for Superman because Mr. Terrific really is like, let's just kill them all. And Superman's like, no, then we're just as bad as they are. And like bringing in Guy Gardner, like this is like Mr. Terrific and Guy Gardner in particular are like comic book readers crack because these are like choices we haven't really seen in DC film properties. And it's like, what a cool concept, even though Guy Gardner is like he's like the worst Green Lantern ever. But just having a different Green Lantern, you know, because we had the Green Lantern movies, we've had different Green Lantern appearances. Guy Gardner as a choice is like James Gunn saying, look, y'all, I actually read comic books too. Wink, wink. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. I got to jump in and counter that because like that'd be all well and good and I'd be very happy about it if the movie by itself on its own legs walked well, but it doesn't. And like this is what's killing MCU right now is people aren't going to the theaters anymore because they're like, oh, I have to do homework before I can go enjoy this movie. Yeah, no thanks. I only have like 5 movie trips a year in me. So I'm not going to do the one that requires I watch 27 movies and 3 TV series just to get what's going on. So I'm like, I'm with you. Like I'm not a comic book fan. And if I enjoyed this movie on its own merit, I probably would go away and be like, oh, let me look up these characters that I've never heard of. And then I'd go down the rabbit holes. But I didn't think it was good enough to get me into that window of curiosity. It has to do its job for that to be worth the effort.
I mean, I disagree because we have such a proliferation of superhero movies and characters that I think film goers are used to seeing multiple characters. I don't think you really have to introduce and explain every character. I think just putting a character on the screen is fine, especially with a plot that is pretty straightforward like this one. It's like you have a villain, you have a bunch of superheroes, and you have people teaming up to go after the villain. It's pretty basic. I think that it's pretty easy, and I think that especially this film, more than like the Snyder properties, for example, are probably targeting families and as an audience, and young viewers are going to be like, fuck it, we don't care, this is awesome. You know, they don't need like a 30-minute intro for a character in order to buy into it and to understand it. You can just throw a Green Lantern on the screen and be like, look, here's another person with another set of powers, enjoy. And they'll be like, yes, cool fights, cool scenes, that's it. You know, I think like also they had like, so I feel like it's straightforward enough that it's graspable, but they're also giving those little pieces of crack candy for people who are comic book readers. Like the Elemental dude is another great example of that. And I think like the special effects were cool, the fight scenes were cool, the plot was straightforward enough, and people are so used to ideas of multiple dimensions that it's another thing that you don't really have to spend 30 minutes explaining. And part of that is like the culture of story and cinema. We've seen multiple dimensions, we've seen riffs, we've seen all of these things. And so I feel like it's perfectly fine to shorthand it, and most people will get it. Maybe there's a handful of people who will be like, but I don't understand. Why are Clark and Lois in love? And it's like, fool, people can just have relationships. You don't need to see them fall in love. You can jump into it and understand that they have a relationship. And now they're fighting.
Everybody shut up. Everybody shut up right now.
Oh, shit.
Okay. We're doing beer of the week.
Well done.
Or
Well done.
whatever.
Okay.
Good fight. Good fight.
Good job,
Beautiful.
everybody.
Oh,
No?
sorry, Travis. I didn't mean to get personal there.
No. I love it. I love it.
I think you absolutely meant to get personal.
I did.
I'm going.
I
on
hope you meant to get personal.
You're not the guest.
did.
You are not the guest that has insulted me the most personally on this show.
Oh,
True.
I'll have to work on it.
You've got time. You've got time. Okay.
I mean, Ray Knowles
I think-
last time said she was my nemesis, my
Yeah, right.
actual sworn enemy. So that's the bar to clear right there.
I think viewers need to know that Jeremy came in a Superman shirt.
He did.
he did.
Yeah. Spotify people, I came prepared. I did homework.
Yeah.
All
He's
right.
got the glasses and everything. So you actually can't even tell that he's
Yeah,
Jeremy.
you can't even tell that I'm dressed this way.
Yeah, I'm very confused about who he is.
I have no idea, but I don't really care because he fits right in. It's like he's been here before.
There's kind of like Luthor vibe, you know, if he shaved.
He does have the Lex Luthor vibe. This is what happens if Lex Luthor gets his hands on Superman's glasses.
Maybe he's a
I'm-
clone.
I'm not in the multiverse. What are you talking about?
Are you a plant, dude? You've been a plant this whole time?
You've been a plant this whole
Robia.
time.
Oh my
I-
god. Why are we even
You
getting
mistake
planted?
me for some sort of scoundrel.
That is
Yeah.
not what my mistake is here. What you know what I do want to know? I want to know what you have drinking there, Jeremy. And did you use our sponsor?
Well, yeah, it's funny that you ask that. So, because I did. So, what I have here, Travis, calm down, first of all. Actually, everybody
It's
can
never
calm
too
down.
early to start.
Everybody calm down, right?
Preseason.
Because
I
I'm
understand.
not actually going to do something bad to a good thing. I'm going to do something good to a bad thing. And by bad thing, I mean black velvet, which is what it would be like if Superman liquefied kryptonite and tried to drink it. It tastes like the color brown hates you. And I'm going to taste this for you, the people. Measured up against this, which does come to us courtesy of our sponsor, who is the Naughty Boys of the Rockies. That's naughty with a K because they do woodworking. It's that kind of, knots and wood. We all get it. Brought to us by the naughtiest boy of all, my dad, who sent us his whiskey sticks to try out. Now, his claim was that it makes black velvet drinkable in as little as 10 days. So here's what we're gonna do.
That's bold.
I've had this stick in this surprisingly glass bottle of black velvet since June 9th. And
Nice.
this I got like last week. And I would pour this in a glass to taste it, but I wouldn't do that to a glass.
Yeah, don't do that to a glass.
Yeah, this. God, that tastes like human suffering.
Wow.
It does.
It
For
was made
people-
with
For
Sweet
people who
cheese.
can't see, he just took a swig right out of the bottle.
Black velvet in the
Like I
plastic.
said, I wouldn't do that to a glass. Speaking of glasses, let's get some of this. Now, I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, the smell is less nail polishy, which is
That's
nice,
good.
you know. Actually, that smells downright fit for human consumption.
Well, consume it.
Okay, I will. I'm doing it. I'm being a showman, Travis.
I think you're doing great, pal.
Thank
You are
you.
doing- You're doing great. You're doing
Good
great.
plug.
Jeremy.
You. I've done
Good
my
sponsor.
best. Yes, it's a good sponsor.
Mhm.
hmm There's a lot of caramel candy like on the nose all of a sudden. This is for the Spotify listeners and the
Yeah,
YouTube
yeah,
listeners. They can't smell
yeah.
this either. Unless-
Unlike the
some of it.
Spotify people, we can smell the
Yeah.
same thing that you can smell.
We can smell it. Mhm.
Yeah, I
Or
know
be over
we
here.
have. That's what happens now that we've completed the device. That's fine. It's fine.
Mhm. Mhm.
Took a long time to complete that damn device.
Clay, can you how is it?
How'd it go, bud?
That's so much better. And sure, was the bar subterranean? Yes, it was. But this is drinkable. I could sip this. I'm going
Okay.
to. And
Clay,
I'm
if I can
continue
jump in the
sipping
line.
on this, which I have been drinking the whole episode, which has my other stick in it.
Okay. Nice.
I'm gonna jump in line here because I did get the message from Jeremy about the sponsor, and I did get the clear message that said 10 to 30 days. And I said, you know what, the ultimate test would be the same liquor, Black Velvet, for 2 days. So 48
go.
hours.
Sweet Jesus.
My
Travis.
stick has been in here for 48
I
hours.
was
We're
pulling
gonna
a Jeremy.
I mean,
we're gonna-
luckily that's. Oh my God.
whole glass. Whole glass.
Sweet
Whoa.
Jesus. I mean, luckily that's a smaller bottle. So, like, how do you feel? Do you feel good about your life?
It's
Your
like
choices.
it's like nail polish on its evolutionary stage in Pokemon on the way to becoming whiskey. Like it's pretty good.
The Charmeleon of
It's the
Black
yeah.
Velvet's journey to
Yeah.
being
Little-
Charizard. Okay.
A little bigger, slightly angrier anime eyes. Okay, I got you.
In college, I would have lied and said this was good. That's the best review I can say.
Okay. Nice. So from subterranean to Terranean. That's what you can do to Black Velvet. If you
It's on Earth.
get in touch with Naughty Boys and grab yourself some of those whiskey sticks. That's officially the first Fermented Fiction sponsor. So thanks, Naughty Boys, for taking a shot. Colin, I see you got a beer there, pal. No, you have a Topo Chico.
Ooh.
Okay.
That's right. Taste of summer. Topo
Mhm.
Chico, hard seltzer, tropical mango,
Beautiful.
which I got because a friend brought Topo Chico for us, like in a care package after we had our baby. And my wife got super addicted to the Topos. And I was like, hey, there's alcoholic ones. I'll just get one of each. NA and with whatever's in here. I don't even think they specify what alcohol. It's just, it says, 4.7%, drink it.
Sure.
And
There you
it
go.
does taste like summer. And next
usually-
week I wanted to give my whiskey stick aging time. So next week I'll definitely do a side-by-side taste. I have much better whiskey than Black Velvet that I'm going to use it with.
It's hard to
but
be
we'll see.
worse.
I mean, I feel
There's
like
one way.
Travis has proven the rules that the manufacturer states are correct.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Lewis and Clark is worse.
Lewis and Clark. is
Lewis
worse.
and
Also,
Clark is the worst liquor of every type of liquor of all time.
hard seltzers, Colin, are usually either vodka based or like just standard malt. Is like on the can, it'll just say like a malt liquor.
What on earth is that? They don't know.
Yeah, don't even worry about it.
They don't need to.
Clay, what do you think?
Because you can now officially say your wife is in love with the Topo. That's a move. So I have a plan for my whiskey stick, and I'll tell you guys what it is real quick. It doesn't have anything to do with my beer. But I plan to take my whiskey stick and see if I can turn Johnny Walker Red, which is my favorite cheap sipping scotch, into Johnny Walker some other color. Be it black, be it blue, be it green, be it, maybe I can turn it into Johnny Walker Orange. Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah.
Favorite color? I hope I can do it. I'm going to try. I'm going to see what the whiskey stick's got. So that's what I'm going to do when I get to it. But today I got the Cosmic Crusher Juicy Imperial from our friends at Firestone Walker. I love Firestone. It's a great brewery from California. They have lots of this like haze line, which are like powerful hazy beers. A lot of the times hazies are a little more mild than other IPAs. So they make a lot of like Imperials that kind of maintain the nice fruity hazy taste instead of tasting like a beer beat the shit out of you, which is what most Imperials taste like. So I recommend Firestone's Mind Haze. It's tasty. And I got Cosmic Crusher because, I mean, what's Superman if not that? Arley?
Certainly that.
But Clay, what is your shirt? I see some Japanese characters. Is it like a monster shirt?
It's Gengar as a kaiju. Yeah.
Nice. That's
So
cool.
he'd be crushing the
Sick.
city over here.
That's
They're doing-
awesome.
I'm a big fan. That was one that Instagram got me on. Ashamed to admit it. But look, it came in fine. It's not one of those just iron-on bullshits. I've worn it a lot of times. So yeah, I'm happy with it. Recommend this Gengar shirt if Instagram shows it to you. It can be trusted.
It looks really cool.
Sick.
Thank you. Sapporo.
Good beer.
Oh, there you go. That's premium right there.
It's just what we had, so
I think you drank that last time too.
I did because it was also what we had.
Arley Sorg's just always got Sapporo.
Yeah.
Apparently.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Speaking of not fixing what isn't broken, let's not fix fermented facts. Let's just keep on doing them the same way as we always have. We are going to add one new wrinkle afterwards, but for now, Colin, you got some facts to share with us? I have one that I found really interesting if you don't say it.
All right. Yeah, I will show some facts. I know we definitely have comic book nerds around that I'm sure have trivia, too much trivia to hold back the tide. So I will say to start off with that if you're at all curious about this movie, which I was in terms of like what's the backstory of this,
Moses the space baby. That's it.
Right? The Wikipedia article for this movie, and especially the DC universe and the DC extended universe, it reads like the most like Bachelorette or like drama queen stuff going on. It's fantastic. Like there's tons of references to like this director treated this actor this way, and then they went on to make this movie, and that's why when this merger happened, these two producers had it out with one another. I mean, it is really like it should be its own movie. The like what's gone on with DC, and the Wikipedia article like spells a lot of it out, and I'm super fascinated, and I want this to be a comedy in like 10 or so years because it is hilarious. Basically, like there used to be a thing, the DC extended universe, right? And all these Superman, Batman movies were all encompassed in the Zack Snyder films, and everybody leapt on board, including Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson for Black Adam. That movie bombed, and he blamed all the fans for it because it couldn't have possibly have been The Rock. But it keeps going. It's more complicated than that, and basically. Disney and Warner merged, and then that was kind of the impetus, and the producers and like the CEOs have gone on record and said like, we used to give blank checks to people to make their own projects and finish them and all, and we thought that was dumb, so we redid everything and we're restarting everything and we're copying Marvel, and this is the first movie of what's literally a 10-year plan that incorporates video games and TV shows and movies and all of the above.
Okay. Hell yeah.
Also, fun fact: Nathan Fillion and his horrible haircut. That was all like management. He was like, "I'm going to play this character, and he's going to have a bowl cut because that's what's in the comic books, and it's staying."
Yeah,
So
can't have Guy Gardner without his dumb
he
haircut.
absolutely, stuck to his guns on that, and that's what they did. And
That's probably my favorite meme that's come out of the whole movie, which just shows who I am. Is the side by side of him and Anton Chigurh, and it's like who wore it better. That's so perfect.
Superb.
It is hard to top that Anton bowl cut, but I mean Nathan Fillion's the man. So yeah, Easton.
They also like other stuff is they use the original soundtrack from the 1978 film. They reused that. They wanted to harken back to a bunch of old school stuff. So his costume is much more the old school 70s Superman costume intentionally. The characters that they chose, the comic book characters, they wanted to go much more sort of unique and search for lesser used characters and modify them and do so in interesting ways. And a lot of stuff is there like that only comic book readers would notice, and that's all intentional. And then they even had like there's little Easter eggs references to Smallville as well. So that was all like in the background influencing the creation of it all. And it's the first official like this new franchise that they've created. Like this is the first film of many planned, Supergirl being another one and Clayface being another one, which are kind of, wow, they're not doing Batman. Like those are surprising takes. So we'll see.
That's
and
interesting.
Those are my facts. I'm sure there are more.
I did see that the one of the Raptor soldiers apparently was their Lex Luthor from Smallville, the same actor.
Oh, cool.
Oh, Michael Rosenbaum. He did it.
Yeah, he did it. So he has now been both henchman and henchmaster? Boss?
He had James.
Or do you
on
take
his
the
team.
hench out? Is the hench what goes?
I think the hench is the modifier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been henchman and boss. He was on Michael Rosenbaum had James Gunn on his talk show too. I watched that interview. It was very fascinating. James Gunn kind of didn't hold back on his opinions on the MCU, which was kind of fun to see. Little saltiness.
Yeah. Here he is doing his own take on it. Arley, you're a comic book fan. Did you notice anything you were particularly jacked about?
Yeah, a lot of things. For example, they were in the Hall of Justice, and when there's a shot while they're inside the Hall of Justice, there's a mural on the background that has the Justice Society or some version of. But I think, comic book fans, if they've read enough, will recognize that this is not Earth Prime or Earth 3 or whatever, because, they call themselves the Justice Gang. So it's like an alternate to the primary DC storylines. But there was a ton of stuff in there that was just, really cool for comic book readers. And I was going to say earlier about Nathan Fillion, I really love when the actors of movies like this are actual nerds and actually like the comic books and stuff like that. I feel like it adds a level of energy and authenticity that you can just feel when you watch the movie,
No, that's absolutely true. Nathan Fillion went to sleep under like a blanket fort with a flashlight, like looking at Green Lantern, right? And he's even played a superhero in like Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, right? So like he's played like one of those knockoff superheroes, and now he's in the big leagues. Good for Nathan.
He gets to be Green Lantern, which is pretty major.
And like douchey Green Lantern, which is the perfect Green Lantern for Nathan.
So good. He gets to be a big doofy chode with cosmic responsibilities, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw a fun trivia fact on IMDb that will harken back, Arley, to your first episode. James Gunn cited Godzilla -1 as the major influence on this film, explaining, "I tried to fuse elements like giant monsters, robots, flying dogs, and other superheroes. My goal was to make a film like Godzilla -1, which depicted Godzilla, but also had great human drama." So,
That's a great addition. I can see that and I can feel it, except that, Godzilla, the thing that Godzilla did was it really, right from the beginning, it created the sense of perspective and size that a lot of Godzilla movies don't really do. Like it kind of brought it back to horror, and I don't think I think if James Gunn was trying to do that, he didn't quite nail that element, but I can see like a lot of the dynamic vibes of Godzilla in this as well. Now that you mention it, I totally agree with you.
That was cool. Connection.
I hope you feel better now.
I didn't feel bad.
Well, I really like that point, but I think we need to move forward to making points about what we really think. But before we do that, Travis has a new thing he's doing. He's going to add just a fact that we'll add every time, and I'll let him take it away.
Everybody, I know you all want to know, was this a flop? Okay, that's what I want to know after many movies when I'm researching. Did this make it? Did this have success? Or will it maybe be a future cult classic? Or will it just die on arrival? And luckily, we didn't have an answer going into the weekend, and we have an answer after this last weekend of whether or not Superman was a flop or a success. So for those who don't know, the industry standard in Hollywood, because of advertising prices and how much theaters have to take from the ticket sales, is 2.5 times its budget. So a movie has to make 2.5 times its budget to be considered a box office success. The production budget for Superman is estimated to be around $225 million, which relatively, with some movies compared to it on its scale, isn't that bad. And it recently, after this last weekend, made $552,908,803. So it is officially just over 2.5, and it is a box office success.
Nice. You should add like the review scores with that stuff, like the Rotten Tomatoes and all that.
I could. Yeah. IMDb I have up. It's got user reviews, set it at, let's see here, 7.5, which that's good. Anything over a 7 in IMDb is usually pretty solid, pretty respectable. 8 is like, yeah, that's a good movie. Superman on Rotten Tomatoes, fans gave it a 91 and the critics gave it an 83. So it's a box office success and it's a critical success. One thing I will say to add on that, one thing I hate they're doing, they are losing money a little bit as it stays in theaters. So they've pulled it already for streaming. I'm not a big fan of that. I wish they would keep it in cinemas for a couple more weeks, but they're going to do dual. It'll be on your TV for like $20 probably, while also still in cinemas. So if you're a couch movie person, Superman is now available for you to buy and watch.
I do feel like it's one of those movies that just is going to read a little bit better in the theater. Like your theater experience is going to be very different than on a TV,
100%.
I will advocate hard for going to the movie theater. Just like every movie is better in the movie theater.
Yep.
It really is. They're made
even movies that
theater.
suck.
Even movies that suck. Soundtracks are better. I mean, unless they suck in like they're not made well, because then they are worse in the movie theater.
But then see all the details.
But then look, hey, if you're not in the movie theater and you're just watching a movie on, say, your phone, you're gonna miss so much sound and detail that you're like, this isn't as offensive as if this was the size of a billboard and being with sound being pumped at me from all directions.
Mm-hmm.
This is true, Jeremy. This is true. So the movie will amplify your experience. If you hate the movie, you're gonna hate it more, and if you like it, you'll probably like it more. I also think it can nudge you in the direction of liking it. When you may have just been very lukewarm about it, because of the power of the experience. Support movie theaters. We don't want them to die and go away forever.
Do it.
No,
come on, y'all.
Yep.
And before we do that, let's continue to support the spirit of discussion, the spirit of exploration through literary debate. And let's do that with fucking Superman. We're going to start with you, Trav, because you had to go against it. You rolled low. The dice gods, as usual, did not favor you. But you don't mind that, do you? Because you're ready to share your real opinion right now. And what is it?
I mostly lied. I enjoyed Superman quite a lot. I didn't lie about the dog thing. I loved Crypto. I kind of exaggerated my opinion on Crypto. I did love Crypto, but by the end I was like, okay, that's enough.
I will say that opening season 4 with like talking about we should be killing dogs was a choice.
Yeah, bro. Hey, look.
Hey, I decided to make it. To make it.
The opinions of Travis Vermeulen do not necessarily.
I don't think, Jeremy, give me my time. I don't think that Crypto deserved to die. I liked Crypto. I just thought there was a little too much use of him in the plot. But that's a personal thing. I definitely do think Superman was a bit of a side character sometimes, but I don't think that was a bad thing. I think the story was, and like, I think Arley made a great point. If you're walking into a James Gunn character thinking it's going to be like one character is the like main narrative push, like you haven't watched enough James Gunn. He's a group clique type of guy. He's a found friends party guy. He's a party story guy. And I think he does it better than a lot of people. And this movie is entertaining.
I agree.
It has a lot of heart. It surprisingly teetered on some pretty deep, like kind of political issues and did it pretty well and nuanced. I thought that was very good. And the thing I really, really, really loved about it was I am at heart a family guy. Like I don't have a child yet, like Colin, but I want to start a family. I'm very close to my family. I love my parents. And so to see Superman return to the roots of like, Snyder tried to do it, but he was so obsessed with his own Jesus parable that he didn't do it. But to see Gunn bring it back to that heart of like Superman is who he is because his parents were great people. And like that, and it's not, and the whole thing of taking it away from like his birth parents, even if they were bad, it doesn't matter. His adoptive parents were good and they instilled in him really, really solid values. And he follows those with this like doughy-eyed, almost people could say doughy-eyed sort of like ignorance, but I don't think it's ignorant. I think he's non-cynical. And Clayton's heard me rage about that a lot lately. Like I am so sick of cynicism in popular movies. I'm okay with it, like in a lot of stories. I really am. But like I think that's become a big problem with the MCU is they can't even they can't have a heartfelt scene anymore without telling a joke to throw away the emotion because they think that's what plays best to their audience. And I loved to see Gunn just lean fully into the like tearjerker, Superman loves his parents and like that's a good thing. Let me linger on that moment for a while. So that really caught me. Even if I had hated the movie, that probably would have got me at the end to like it a little, but I liked the movie. I was entertained. And the last point I'll make is such a good Lex Luthor. Such a good Lex Luthor.
Oh yeah.
James Gunn showed that he was like actually a genius in like a lot of subtle ways that I really appreciated, where he just like did stuff and people were like, you tore a hole in like time space. And he's like, yeah, you can't do that. I loved that. I loved that genius was part of kind of his, a lot of writers call it the Luciferian intellect. Like that is what drives him to this like extended overborn pride that he believes he has to take control of everything. I thought that his motivation was a really good motivation. And Nicholas Hoult he's knocking it out of the park after like Nosferatu and a couple other performances. Like if he's not on your radar already, he needs to be. He's excellent. So those are my points. I liked Superman. I would give it a good rating.
Arley,
Good.
did your role belie your inner truth as well, or did you lie more than Travis?
This fucking movie sucked. No, I'm just kidding. No, most of what I said was true. and I agree with Travis. I think Travis made a really good point about the family, and especially like I think what Zack Snyder missed, in my opinion, is that the dark and gritty and cynical is good if you're doing a Batman story, but not everyone's story should be like that. When you're doing everyone's story like that, it becomes monotone. And so I think having a good, wholesome, positive Superman is great, you know, and you could do a cynical Batman, but that's Batman's character. Gotham is a cynical city. And I mostly agree with Travis's points about Crypto. Like I did genuinely love to see Crypto in the movie, but I do think he was overutilized and it should have been a cameo. And Crypto, even elements of Crypto were really questionable. It's like there's a moment where they say we need to get Crypto out of here before he kills all the cows, and it's like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what are you talking about? This is so serious. And then to even have a dog that's that out of control, that has Superman's powers, that is like a world-threatening thing. So even from the level of continuity,
It is terrifying.
it doesn't make sense. Like he would be flying around wrecking shit. So it's like, what, you know, it from a very basic storytelling level of like consistency, it doesn't make sense that he would be that out of control while also like having that level of power. So I felt there were problems, and I felt there were some other consistency problems. For example, with the elemental dude, he's like, oh, you know, Superman, you have to carry my baby because I can't do it when I'm transforming. And yet, like,
He's an octopus that can pull someone out of a black hole.
exactly, like a minute later, it's not even like 30 minutes later after you've forgotten that he said that. It's like, wait, why can you have a jet for a butt and pull Superman out of a black hole, but you couldn't carry your baby? Like, I'm confused. But the thing is that it's a comic book movie, so, you know, you can't take it too seriously, and you have to just have fun with it, which I think is the vibe of the movie, you know. And I'm personally like, you know, I agree with Travis that this was a good Lex, but my fundamental problem, you know, it's like James Gunn was like, we haven't seen all these superheroes, but I'm like, we've also seen like Lex Luthor is in every fucking Superman movie. There are so many villains you could have used. Why do we have to do Lex Luthor again? So, you know, from a very basic level, I'm kind of like, your approach to the rest of the concepts could have been an approach to the supervillain. You know, there's a great supervillain. I think his name is Amazo. I can't remember, but he absorbs superpowers. And so that would have been great to use in this, because if Superman fights him, then he duplicates or absorbs Superman's powers. And so the way to beat him is to not fight him, basically. You have to find clever ways to fight him. Like there's just a host of interesting supervillains that we could have seen in this movie. But it's like, oh, you know, Travis is right. This is a good Lex. There was a lot of good things about him. But it's like, how many times have we seen an iteration of Lex? You know, I'm done with Lex. Can we see somebody else?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mostly liked it. I had quibbles, but I found it really fun, exciting, and I'm very excited to see what happens with this new iteration. I'm more excited about this than I was with the Zack Snyder movies. Like Zack Snyder Justice League, Superman gets a little bit rapey. I'm like, I feel triggered. Like this is not the experience you want from a superhero movie. So yeah.
Yeah. I like that point about -1 because it's James Gunn. So I keep thinking about Guardians, right? I keep comparing it to Guardians and being the thing that bothered me about this movie. I largely agree with both of you. I liked it for all the same reasons. I also thought it really showcased James Gunn's ability to write dialogue and write believable characters that you can really like sink your teeth into. Like that Lois Lane Superman conversation was super heavy and it felt really genuine. It felt really real. That was like a couple that is like, oh, hey, you want to write a story about me, and then you write a story about your wife, and she's like, the fuck is this? And you're like, I'm a horror writer. I don't know what you wanted from me. But you know, like it was totally like that kind of conversation, right? Where it's like, yeah, we can do that thing, we can do that. We're a strong couple, and then it's like, well, some things are hard to do with your partner. James Gunn.
Yeah.
Sorry, go
Wait,
ahead.
but I'm sorry, but that's a really good point, because I think in a really nuanced way, this is kind of showing how like sometimes couples don't talk about something on purpose. And then when they push each other
Right.
to talk about it, it's like, now we're gonna fucking fight. Since you asked, this is what I think. And you shouldn't have asked if you don't want to know. So yeah, continue. Sorry, but I got excited.
No, thank you, Arley. And you're right, because that is kind of the heart of that scene, and what makes it. You can tell James Gunn's mission in this movie was to be like, all right, can we chill out with Superman? Everybody telling me Superman is just good, so he's boring. And so he's going Superman fanboy, and he's like, listen, Superman, yes, he's good, but that doesn't mean there's no questioning it. That doesn't mean there's no morality issue at play. That doesn't mean Superman's boring. Fuck all of you. And he like really let us have it there, you know? And hey, as a Superman hater on record, I have to go into this and be like, hey, that wasn't too bad. I liked it. But I saw that he was doing that. I am that person, Arley, that troll that's like, Superman's just good, it's boring. That is me. I am those people.
That's fair though. That's fair.
It's happened a lot, right? It's happened a few times to Superman movies and such. But I think this movie did a good job of going around it, and they used strong relationships and good dialogue and believable conversations to challenge Superman's morality in a way that I don't think I've seen done a lot of times, and that I think James Gunn is really good at. My main problem with it was everything felt disconnected. It didn't feel like those conflicts between the characters really played into the plot, right? Like they kind of had the newspaper people show up, and Lois Lane was just sort of there with Mr. Terrific to go into an alternate universe. Whereas like that doesn't even make sense for Mr. Terrific. He would have been like, you stay here. You will do to me no good in there. Like, I'm not taking you in there. Like he's a very practical hero. At least he seemed like it in that movie, right? That was his deal. So it didn't make sense for that kind of thing. Like I feel like Lois Lane really, other than her emotional impact on Superman, didn't impact the plot. So like no matter how strong those scenes were with her, she didn't actually really impact the plot. Only Superman and sort of Mr. Terrific did, right? Like I'm not saying Mr. Terrific was an insignificant character, clearly very significant, but like only the superheroes truly affected the plot. But some of the most powerful scenes were with the non-superheroes. And I think you could argue that the father affected the plot in a very real way by giving Superman that motivation that he lost from seeing the rest of his birth parents' message, right? So that was important. And you can make those emotional arguments, but it's just, I don't know if I'm making any sense there. I felt like there was really strong emotional scenes that unfortunately didn't really mean anything in a lot of ways. And that's like what...
In terms of the plot.
In terms of the plot. Yes, they definitely meant a lot for character arcs and character development, which is like always what James Gunn is building a story around anyway. But like in -1, it was crucial to both. Yeah. In Guardians of the Galaxy, it was crucial to both. And I feel like that is where Superman just had a little bit of connective tissue missing for me, but it was still a really good story. And Colin, you were up first, and then Jeremy.
Yeah, there was another scene to add to your point earlier about, you know, how sort of masterfully crafted scenes, you know, I mean, when he's like in an apartment with Lois and the Green Lantern and the other superheroes are fighting
that was awesome.
In the background. I mean, it's just a great scene because, like, on the one hand, it's really funny because they're like hitting him with giant green hammers and stuff, this big floaty monster, and Superman's just like, oh, it's just an extra dimensional beast. You know, they have it handled. But I mean, that's not Superman, right? I mean, it's like clearly Superman is having an existential crisis because he's not helping these guys who are attacking this creature that threatens Metropolis right outside the window. Like, he has more important stuff to deal with, oddly, which is like his own identity and his relationship with Lois. And so that was really good. And then I think casting, a lot of people, including myself, were like, why would Rachel Brosnahan, an amazing lead actress from several TV shows, want to be like Lois Lane, who seemed, I mean, in general, doesn't do anything important in Superman history, in terms of general, not in every example, but in general. And then we had the scenes that like showed it. It's like, she's an amazing actress, and she argues point to point with Superman and exposes sort of his very glaring weaknesses when it comes to lying and holding back information and getting emotional when it comes to the truth. He's not a politician, and clearly he's not ready for that big interview. So, an actress that's that good is like totally believable, that she would both be like an incredible journalist, and that she would also want to be in a relationship with this guy who's, a serious problem for her, like fate and life. But also not let him get away with mistreating her or reducing her own like liberty and freedom, to do what she wants to do.
Mm-hmm. Jeremy?
Well, you see, I think, overall, this movie fundamentally understood Superman in a way that, Zack Snyder's Man of Steel trilogy didn't. I do still really like said trilogy, but it will be my punching bag for this episode. So, what are you going to do? But like, furthermore, and this is more to the point where I raised my hand, is that I disagree with Clay. Lois and Jimmy actually had a meaningful impact on the plot of a Superman movie for once in their goddamn lives in this movie. Like, the only reason anybody even thinks to go and rescue Superman is because Lois goes and yells at the Justice Gang, and that's real stuff. That's real stuff that's happening. She flies him off to Smallville, and then they have that great talk about punk rock in his bedroom, which, punk rock Superman. It's great. Yeah. And I love it. And,
That's a good point.
That leads into my first question, which I'll throw to you, Arley. I'm going to set it up a little bit because I'm with you, Jeremy, and talking about general kind of writing, about editing, about consuming stories in the best way we possibly can. Like your point, Clayton, made me think, does she have to be so central to the plot points themselves, or can a character just be that foil? Can a character just be that challenge to the other character and the device that we need to pull out the other side of Superman? And like, I think sometimes we get in this, or people in general talk about devices as bad, but like a well-written character device is a well-written character device. And I think it's a lot like tropes, where it's like tropes inherently are not bad. Poorly used tropes are bad, but like you can use a trope with great success. And so that's, I think, my first question is to the whole panel. Like, is there a point where even if the character doesn't necessarily move plot point A to plot point B, can they still have a purpose in actually drawing out something deeper from the character that is moving plot point A to plot point B? And Arley first, and then Colin.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that, because when Clay, who you refer to as Clayton, I've noticed, which is weird, but when Clay mentioned it, that's literally what I was thinking. I was like, do characters have to impact plot per se in order for it to add value? And I think it always comes down to execution. I think that they can add value. So there are two ways that I'm thinking about it. From one, on a writing level, I think that characters and moments can add value without it necessarily having to add to plot. Like those interactions add so much, texture to the movie. So even if Jeremy hadn't remembered Lois's impact on the plot, which is accurate, I think that Lois would still be important to the movie, and what she does in terms of the character and the texture of the movie is important. But on the other hand, if we are talking about it from the perspective of gender. I think the fact that, Hot Girl and Lois, being the main women in the movie, and then you have these dudes, Mr. Terrific and Superman primarily. I feel like Green Lantern is almost mostly there for comic relief, which is fine. But Terrific and Superman are the primary movers of the plot and the actors in the plot. And so if we talk about it from a gender perspective, I feel like women are almost always underutilized. And so, from my own perspective, those characters could both have being utilized a little bit better and being more instrumental, especially Hot Girl. Like, I felt bad for her. I'm like, she's a badass, but all she really does is have a few cool lines, scream, and hit things with her mace, mostly ineffectually. And so, I think that, it made me think about Guardians, and it made me want to go back and see what James Gunn does with the women in those shows, and if they're also relatively underutilized. So I think, on the one hand, from a crafts perspective, you can have characters not impact the plot and still be important to the movie. But on the other hand, from a gender perspective, it probably could have done better. That said, the most important thing I can tell you is, I don't know if y'all noticed the Superman curl, his hair, like it's from the comic books, but there'd be scenes where there's the curl, and then a second later, the curl is gone, and his hair is gone, and then the curl is back. And it's like the same moment, but they totally fucked it up. And I'm like, why have the Superman curl if you're not going to like pay attention to it and make sure that it's consistent?
Okay.
That's got to be like your beer at a frat party. Like, you can't spill that thing. You lose all honor.
More
No,
than
bro.
that, though, Arley. More than that. Did anyone catch, or am I crazy, that the clone Superman has the same haircut as Henry Cavill? I thought that was like so. I was like, that's so.
You
straight.
are crazy. That is also true.
Yeah, it reminded me of when Superman dies and then he comes back with long hair, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what you're exactly going for, but it's a choice. It's not the right choice.
He looked a little like Anakin Skywalker to me.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, as we say in the gay bars, it's nice to have something to grab, but whatever.
Yeah, it is.
I do like the idea of a shirt that says, "But what the F is up with the Superman curl?" And then, like,
Yes.
like one with and one without, just the hair, just like a iconography of just the hair curl, absent and present,
Yeah, it's like there's a magical wind that from one second to the next blows it away and then blows it back. No, you can't explain it. It's just sloppy.
Just sloppy.
I
Just
think
sloppy work, James.
I think that
Yeah.
Travis's question is a great question, and like, this is not a normal movie. Like, if you're making a superhero movie, you're basically tackling the biggest IP that exists, pretty much. And so, like, when I think of tropes, and especially referring to tropes like you did, Travis, in terms of like, if they're done well, they're extremely helpful, and if they're not done well, they're a huge hindrance. And I think this film, like, they used tons of tropes, and 90% of them were very effective, and I think very well done. And that's why I liked the film so much, because we're just thrown. I mean, like, 3 years ago this happened, 3 days ago this happened, 3 months ago, 3 minutes. I mean, that was a bit weird, It's like, okay,
Yeah,
I get it.
James Gunn was like, I'm a literary writer as well.
It's the Trinity, it's a Jesus thing going on. All right. But like, I mean, we're just thrown into it, and I never would have expected that a Superman reboot would start with him being defeated, and then we're just going to go to the Fortress of Solitude, and it has robots in it and the dog and stuff, and it's like, all this stuff is not explained, but we don't need it explained, and it's kind of great that it doesn't get explained, because we don't need it. 99% of people on Earth already know about Superman, and it does not need to be explained. And those tropes, in terms of like these reporters and how they act and what kind of person they are based on what they say and how they act, and like the superheroes, how they interact with one another, there's tons of like stuff that we just latch onto very quickly and easily. And you know, for a superhero movie, for a Superman movie that's like a huge deal and like has to go well for DC, I think I was definitely impressed overall with like how well it did so many things, and taking unusual stances and storytelling ideas and paths.
Yeah. Clay?
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, honestly, I didn't dislike this movie, and I was surprised by that. I have disliked Superman movies most of the time, but this one, it did a pretty good job of accomplishing what it set out to do. I think so. I never meant to imply either that Lois Lane's character was not important. I mostly meant a lot of those interactions I felt like just were a little out of place, and maybe it's more about tone than about moving the plot along. Like, was this movie supposed to be Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like tongue-in-cheek and funny? Or was it supposed to be darker and more serious? Because there was a lot of moments that felt like they were trying to take themselves really seriously. Guardians of the Galaxy didn't take itself seriously. It had serious moments, but like it was goofing. Like we all knew what it was, you know? And I wasn't quite sure that Superman's tone had enough consistency throughout for me. So maybe that's why some of those scenes didn't land. I was thinking about it as you guys were talking, because you make really strong points in terms of plot, what a character should be. I agree with all that. So maybe that's what it was more for me, that those just felt a little out of place. So it's not even that they didn't affect the story, but they just seemed inconsistent. And this movie has inconsistencies at a fundamental level all throughout it. I mean, like, okay, so we're bringing in like Hacker Man from fucking Kung Fury, and that's like the answer to the Earth not being swallowed by a black hole. Like, dude, this is Dragon Ball Z syndrome. Okay, I always have a problem with it. It's always a pet peeve. And here's my real problem with it. My real problem with it here is not that it happened. I expected it to happen. We're doing a Superman movie. I expect it to happen. But it didn't. I'm just disappointed. That's right, Colin. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed because you know what? We didn't have to do that. We had powerful moments. We had real moral quandaries and discussions about morality in a Superman movie. If we'd have taken out like 5 fight scenes and just had like 3 pivotal fight scenes that all built on each other in a meaningful way, instead of just smash fest after smash fest after smash fest, that meant nothing because they all resolved exactly the way anyone would expect them to. And I get, you can say, oh, you're coming to a Superman movie, you should be excited. I did expect that. I'm just disappointed because we had moments like that relationship moment, that conversation, that interview where we were like, this movie could be deeper. It could be deeper and not cynical. Those don't have to be the same thing. It had everything it needed to be a different movie. And I still feel like it fell back into the same pattern of most superhero movies, which is just like smash fest after smash fest. None of them mean anything. They're just popcorn movies. We literally have Lex Luthor playing a video game. They could not be trying harder to just sell us shit. And I just can't not see it in my story. Okay, so it bothers me a little bit. I think that's why some of these emotional scenes didn't work for me, because there was so many of those other blatant plays in my face throughout this movie, and that bothers me. I can't not see it. What are you trying to do, James? Are we trying to do something deep? Are we trying to really talk about Superman's morality and justify his message? Are we trying to fucking make a new roller coaster at Universal Studios? Fucking figure it out.
Jeremy, I can see those Lex Luthor thoughts brewing behind that bald head.
Hey, look. Hey, now. Why he goes on the rant and I'm automatically the bad guy is what we're saying here?
No,
Hey,
I'm calling you a genius. That's what I'm calling you.
Oh, thank you. That's so sweet. But hey, look. Here's what I'll say, especially about the big reality ripping in half and black hole, whatever is going on in the climax of the film. The thing I love about it is that this is one of the only Superman things that where the big most bad thing can't be solved by Superman because he can't punch that rip away. No part of this
He can't.
story
True.
gets solved by how good Superman is at doing punches. Like, there's the Daily Planet.
Not true though, because he loses to Superman clone every time.
Yeah,
and they started it with that.
exactly.
That was like
Exactly.
a built-in arc. He could have just had to defeat Superman clone in Lex Luthor's video game. That would have been so much more powerful than let's fucking huck a black hole on it too. Why the fuck not? Which just sort of goes all the way across the earth until it gets to Metropolis and it matters to the plot.
Right.
And then it's like, hold up.
Jeremy, you got to finish.
Oh.
I have
Okay,
a response, but you go
Sorry.
for it. And
Sorry,
then Arley's next.
But yeah, look, it's like, and I'm going to use Superman Returns as the example where, you know, Lex Luthor's whole deal is like, haha, I've created a new continent out of pure kryptonite, and oh, you threw it into space. And like Justice League or Zack Snyder's Justice League, where everything gets solved because Superman shows up and then he just punches real good. Because Superman is at his very best when he's not used as a blunt instrument, where like in this, he gets out of this alive and victorious because he's a good guy and because luckily Metamorpho knows the exact chemical composition of the sun, which is handy.
That was some good knowledge to have on hand.
That's good. You really want that.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're presumably not even from Earth.
Go to science class, kids. Go to science class. Arley?
Or just watch Superman.
Good too.
Okay, so from a writing perspective, this is my biggest problem with the movie, okay? And this is like, if somebody had handed me this story, this would be my most fundamental crit, which would like break the entire story and be like, this is why this whole story doesn't work. Which is this. Are you ready for it? So
Not yet. Can you give us a couple more qualifiers?
Yeah, let me give you some more lead up. So Superman interferes in this war, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like wars are like constantly happening. Like the movie pretends like this is the only war that's happening, but wars are constantly happening. It raises all kinds of questions. Like, were there not any other wars until suddenly now? Why did Superman decide to intervene in this one? Why didn't he intervene in the other one? Why didn't he, you know, like when they went to kill Saddam Hussein, why didn't they stop them from doing that? Why didn't they stop 9/11? Why didn't he stop the invasion of Ukraine? Did this not happen in this world? Is this like the first war in 40 years? And then if so, why? And then if not, why this war? They never specified that. Like there's also like all kinds of, like the US is always involved in military actions in other countries. Other countries are doing this bullshit. People are always making threats. Has Superman like flown around the world and single-handedly disarmed nuclear weapons, you know? So from a standpoint, like the whole movie is about this, so it just doesn't make sense. So like if you look at it that way, you can't have the movie at all. And I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna pretend like I have no ability to critically examine this, and we're just gonna go along with it and pretend like whatever, it's fine. It's a comic book. Don't ask too many questions. But it really is like, wait, like Superman's been on Earth for at least 30 years, right? According to the movie's own timeline. Have there been no wars in 30 years? Really? I don't think so.
Colin and Jeremy, and then I'm going to respond to that and set up my next question because that was good. Colin.
Yeah, I just have a question, which is, you know, what's the deal with the parents' message? Because I thought that Lex Luthor's cronies used AI to falsify the second half, and then
nothing in the plot.
Film, I was like, I don't know what happened there.
Nothing in the plot tells us that that message wasn't genuine. Like all the lines we get from it is that it was genuine. That one felt to me like James Gunn was like, I'm going to subvert the expectation on his birth parents to point more towards like a heartfelt story with his adopted parents. That's what I thought.
There's also a comic book story in the comic. I stopped reading religiously after a while, but later on there was a comic book storyline in the comics where Kryptonians come and conquer Earth. So I think it also touches on that, and it's like a whole thing.
Could be setting that up.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Oh, yeah. So I mean, for his parents, I did think it was particularly interesting how they used Jor-El and Lara first by giving him his stated purpose, basically what he got in Man of Steel, where it's like, well, I'm gonna Superman now because my parents said so, and then
I'm a good boy.
And then obliterating that, giving him more of Goku's backstory, which is nice. I'd say, well, I've heard people say that about maybe a third of the time his parents are evil, and his Kryptonian parents are evil. It happened in Smallville. I don't think we can be too terribly surprised about it this time. I'm interested to see, because Supergirl will undoubtedly have known about that because of her whole deal. But when we circle around to the war and the big crux of the film, I don't think it says at the beginning of the film that he's been Superman for 3 years at this point. It could just be that that's the first major global conflict that he's intervened in since he's started Supermaning. Because he probably didn't do too much intervening in anything before he started Supermaning.
That's what I was going to say. And
had to have a rookie season.
Yeah, and that'll lead to my next question is like, that's the sense that I got the same sense from this movie that I got from Matt Reeves, the Batman, that like this is a young Superman. Like this is rookie season Superman. And I got that from his mannerisms. I got that from like early relationship with Lois Lane. I kind of got it with like how fired up he is about his morality kind of complex. Because you see that in like we all probably had moments where like you're the college kid or you're the young kid that's like, I know what's right in the world, and you might be right, but the way you approach it is with this like fiery passion that sometimes is incredibly naive and not like misses the bet. So that's where like Lois Lane comes in and is like, hey, have you actually followed this like through line and seen where it goes? So I thought that was very expressed in his like language. But so my question from that is what James Gunn and Matt Reeves both had is the task of doing an origin story without doing an origin story. And I kind of just want to hear from the panel, like, that seems like it'd be tough, man. And like, what do you think they both pulled it off? And do you think what challenges as writers, as editors, as producers, like, do you think would really be heavy on the head going into like, I have to write an origin story without doing that? Like,
I mean, it would be different if Superman was unheard of, but everyone already knows who Superman is. Like, it's so ubiquitous. The Zack Snyder movies weren't that long ago. There's been multiple TV shows, multiple cartoons. I mean, so I feel like it'd be different if we were talking about a superhero that they just made up from scratch, or somebody really obscure that no one's heard of, you know? Like you could do a North Star movie who's like a Marvel Universe character who's Canadian, and like, you know, far fewer people would know who the fuck that is, and they would be like, I don't know what's going on. But with Superman, it's like, come on, like, you know, we've all seen it.
Jeremy, and then Claire.
Yeah, that part's literally written.
Yeah. So like the first of all, I was going to try and ignore this, but it does keep coming up Do you keep saying Lewis Lane?
Probably
Lewis?
probably mispronouncing it. My bad.
Okay. Just I couldn't let it alone. But yeah,
I heard it too, Jeremy.
I talk
Thank
wrong
you.
sometimes. I know it's Lois.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Okay. I tried to leave it alone. But anyway,
It's fine.
to answer the question part of your question, I'm just going to kind of go ahead and agree with Arley. It's not like he's trying to give us booster gold or something. It's Superman. We all know that it's Space Moses.
Can I
haven't actually.
quickly rephrase my question? And then Clay, I know you have a point here, but like, I think what I was trying to ask is like, yes, we all know the story. He doesn't have to rewrite the origin story, but clearly, from what I'm hearing, there's something missed of like, I think he was trying to get through that this is a young Superman in his early days of figuring out how to be Superman, but in skipping over the origin story, that maybe can get lost in translation. But Clay, and then maybe back to people.
Were you done, Jeremy?
Yeah, I think it was mostly the Lewis thing for me, but then yeah.
Fair enough. I was going to ask you specifically, Travis, if you're talking about a pre-established character or you're talking about a new character. I do think both things get done. I mean, there's lots of stories that drop you into the middle of a character's journey and then show you Colin, God damn it. And then show you Colin's chiming off in our private chat. Saying funny things, throwing me off my game.
It's
for
because
the
he hates
Spotify
you,
and
the
live
viewers.
audience.
I just want to know the French
It's because he
dub
hates all of
for
you.
Louis Lane.
It's This is definitely what we should be doing.
Such a good use of our time.
Absolutely.
Anyway.
What was I talking about? I was talking about how hard. Yeah. Telling an origin story without telling an origin story. I think that's just as common of a like mechanic as telling the origin story. You just have to show it through the character's actions in the present, and people always employ flashbacks, things like that. So I think that all that can be done and is done quite often. I think there's even superheroes that tend to start that way. Like, doesn't Daredevil kind of start that way a lot of the time? Because Daredevil's story is so much darker and they kind of want you to be really immersed in it. They always drop you in the middle of Daredevil. It's always like Daredevil, like in a fight.
In a confessional booth.
Right, exactly. He's already confessing to murdering people and being super Catholic and blind at the same time. And like, we like have to be like, okay, well, this guy's interesting, isn't he? And kind of like learn as we go. So I think that can be done just as much as telling a straight up origin story, and might even be a little more in vogue with contemporary literature.
Yeah, I don't think it's the origin story that's the problem. I think it's the inciting incident that is the problem. I just don't believe it, you know? And because the difference between Superman and a lot of those superheroes is that Superman lands and he has superpowers right from the beginning. So even if he's being, quote, Supermaning, end quote, which is a great verb, for only 3 years, he's had his superpowers forever. And, you know, if you think about it, when you're in college, that's when you're the biggest idealist and when you're also learning, like, about global politics and shit. So if anything, this is shit he would have done in college. He would have, like, been like, oh, this is wrong. I'm going to fly to this country and stop this war right now. You know, he wouldn't wait till he's 30. Colin?
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, the critique is Watchmen, you know. That's where so I don't know. I don't know if I want Dr. Manhattan in my Superman movie, because Dr. Manhattan is Superman and what would happen the Third World War because of Superman. But, you know, that's kind of another thing. And I do want to plead my ignorance when it comes to, I mean, the movie was predated by Creature Commandos and also something else too. Peacemaker, which I'm not familiar with. So I don't know if those tie in heavily or really not at all.
Peacemaker is just a little cameo, and Peacemaker's hilarious. Great show.
Yeah. It's an awesome cameo, though.
It's such a good cameo, and
And-
that
and
show,
that is- the show is great. Yeah.
great. Show's worth it. Jeremy,
Well, I think actually I don't know what I think, but what I was gonna say is that all of this does actually point to just fundamentally understanding Superman and how he's portrayed in the movie, because Superman takes a lot of very serious beatings during this movie because he's more interested in saving people than he is with winning, because he knows he's going to win the fight that he walks into. And the only thing that he doesn't automatically have control over is like how many other people are walking out of that with him. So that's his main focus in every single conflict and fight, and like even the goofy shit with the octopus pulling Superman with a rocket in his ass. Superman is in that jam because he's trying to save a baby and a dog.
and I think
if James Gunn had killed Crypto, I would have burned the theater to the ground.
I would too. I didn't actually think Crypto deserved to die. That was just for clickbait. I do think Gunn put in the center of the movie very intentionally that battle with the giant monster. That's just like what you just said in a scene of like, he could fly through this thing and kill it in a second, but he's like trying to cause the least amount of damage. And then the Green Lantern comes along and is just like, let me fix this. I thought that was
it's great.
Yeah, I thought that was really good. I have two more questions. My next one being, I want to tiptoe a little bit into probably the most controversial part about this movie. Arley, you talked about the war, because I do think, but my question is going to be more on the writing side of like, I think James Gunn did something here that I very much applaud him for, which is he created a central conflict that can be applied very pertinently to modern political things going on, but is also timeless enough that in 15, 25 years, like you should be able to rewatch this and be like, that guy still sucks. You don't need the context of the day to believe that the leader there sucks. And I also think he had enough nuance in there where you can apply a couple faceless evil dictator types that are floating around to the central country villain. So yeah, on a writing perspective, like, and an editing and a reading perspective, that seems like a tedious line to toe. And we've talked about it a lot, where timelessness is a really good commodity in literature and in film. But also I think something hard to pull off if your jokes are only relevant, if your plots are only relevant to the next 5 or last 5 years, then what the hell are you even doing, in my opinion? But yeah, just general comments on that. Clay, I saw your hand, and then maybe Arley, if you want to jump in.
Arley should go first. I'm going after Arley.
Wait, I don't understand the question.
Less of a question, more of just like a thoughts on that. Like, do you think he pulled that off, and what level does timelessness and trying to make things both pertinent to the modern day but also pertinent to the future events, what level does that play in enjoyment of
I sort of think about
media?
it from like, should I use real country names or fake country names, and what should they kind of evoke, using Barovia, isn't that from D&D actually? From Curse of Strahd, I think, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I'm curious about.
I mean, Marvel does that too with like Doctor Doom's fake country and Doctor Doom being a dictator. I think in terms of timelessness, I think it works and I think it's good, but I also think it's oversimplified, like, for example, if we talk about World War II and the attack on Pearl Harbor, right? It seems cut and dried. These assholes, right? But what people don't realize is that we also put an embargo on rubber before that. Like, it's not like we were sitting around and just like randomly got attacked, which is what the narrative will often tell us. But war is a lot more nuanced. Usually it's like people poking at each other for quite a while, leading up to some asshole doing something for like really weak reasons. I can't speak for Hitler, of course. Obviously, that was different. But even Hitler is like, he's utilizing the disenfranchisement of laborers in the country to his advantage. So even there is a context, there's a pretext, there's complications. So even though Hitler was perhaps an easy example of someone who is clear-cut a bad guy, like the circumstances are not that clear-cut. So I think there is a timelessness to the essential conflict, and I think that we can look back at it for a long time, but I do think it's oversimplified. And I think in being an oversimplified example of warfare and conflict, it feeds into a false narrative that we enjoy using in this country in the first place, to draw lines between this is the bad guys and this is the good guys, and Americans are the good guys, and whoever we're against is the bad guys. So I think from a larger standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, it's more detrimental than anything. We should be asking, what are the circumstances behind what's going on? And in fact, in this movie, the so-called clear-cut bad guy is actually a tool of Lex Luthor. So even in this sense, it's like we think it's clear-cut dictatorship, but it's actually, if we wanted to extrapolate, we might say that it is a metaphor or an example of American intervention in global politics, which causes warfare and trouble. Potentially. I don't think that's really what it was meant to be, but that's closer to the truth than an oversimplistic perspective on warfare and dictatorship.
Yeah, very good points, Clay.
Well, I agree. I do think that some of what you said actually earlier, Arley, was about it felt like there was only one war in the world. And from what I've seen, and again, I haven't read all the comics or anything and only seen a couple movies, so I could be off. But the general vibe I get from Superman is that Superman has always been kind of this entertainment way to talk about politics, right? An entertaining way to talk about politics. Cold War, fighting Russia, that was all part of it, right? The early comic book movement. And I feel like, right, and I feel like in those times, it did feel like there was the one war, right? It wasn't that war happened in one place, but it was that war was the only war that mattered because it was going to lead to the end of the world, right? And I think James Gunn kind of tried to take that war and transplant it onto the modern political environment, right? He used examples of the wars we understand today and of what the bad guys really look like. I don't feel like it was America versus this fictional, kind of obviously Middle Eastern country, right? I didn't feel like it was that. I felt like it was the common man versus tech billionaire dictators. Lex Luthor felt like the real bad guy, right? And to me, Lex Luthor is definitely an American, right? So it was definitely like very topical, very right now. And I didn't feel like it was so globally geopolitical as it was more centered around almost like what's happening on the internet, what's happening online, what's happening like in the digital earth rather than even in the physical earth. I mean, there was definitely scenes of that happening, but like when the whole mood shifts on social media, that was a huge turning point in the movie both times. And Lex Luthor's empire and all his power was built on technology and the global web. So it was interesting. It was kind of taking classic Superman that we understand and putting him in the modern age in that way. I agree with you, Arley. Obviously, war and geopolitical conflict is like drastically oversimplified. But like, again, that goes back to my point about the black hole. Like if you're upset about geopolitical complexity in a Superman movie, but you're okay with the fact that a black hole opened and Earth wasn't immediately annihilated, like the way that a black hole would work in theory, then what are we even doing here? We're watching a Superman movie and don't ask too many questions.
It's fine. You know, don't stare too long at the science fictional aspect.
Exactly.
Just throwing in real quick. It's interesting because Superman was created in 1938, which was when World War II shit was popping off in Europe. And then early Superman comic books and even the old Superman cartoon from way back was like anti-Nazi shit, like Superman fighting Nazis in World War II. So in that sense, it almost goes back to that origin, except that here Superman is like stopping the conflict rather than like beating up Nazis.
Yeah, sure. And it feels way more complicated in today's type of war, you know, because today's type of war is so fought in like your own backyard. At least that's the way it feels to me. Like, I don't feel like there's any way to get away from war, or anywhere you can get away from it anymore. Whereas I think in those earlier days of comic books and the Superman story, you felt like there was a place that Superman protected that was like kind of safe. And then you felt like there was everywhere else. And I'm not saying that's good or unfact or like not accurate, but like it definitely is. But it feels different to me than this story of Lex Luthor's right here. He is the tech billionaire that like watches you in your house because you have an Alexa.
Yeah. Jeremy, I apologize. I'm going to keep going. And I know, but I am a man.
You're the guest, Arley. You're the guest.
Yeah. But what also comes to mind is like there is a period in the comic books where they transitioned, right? Because the old message was Superman upholding truth, justice, and the American way. And there was a point where he transitioned to stepping outside of that and looking at things more globally. And I feel like, I don't know if it's deliberate, but I feel like in some ways this movie is almost touching on that era as well, and on that idea, and on the idea that, you know, American perspective is not the only perspective or the only truth. And Superman stepping outside of America to do something on an international scale, which, you know, in the movie itself is not in alignment with what the American politicians want, really speaks to that idea of like, look, this isn't truth, justice, and the American way. This is truth, justice, period, you know, and whatever's good for humankind in general.
Jeremy?
Jeremy.
Sorry. Well, yeah.
Anyways, the thing about it is, just kidding.
Is that the thing about it? Well, I'll tell you what the thing about it is, and I do agree that war and global conflicts and everything, they get a lot more complex as you get things like the internet and Lex Luthor's monkey troll operation, which is the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and I love it, and it's great. It's so good. But anyway, when you come right down to it, the conflict is that simple for Superman. And I think I feel like that's how it was framed in the movie. It is a simple thing for him. Right and wrong aren't the most nuanced things for him. Like, you know, that when somebody's trying to, invade a nation that cannot fight back, that's bad, and you shouldn't do that. And Superman's going to put a stop to that. And it's the same as when, like, when he's trying to save Crypto, and he's saying, like, he's not even a very good dog, but he's alone and he needs me, so I'm going to go and save him. It's right and it's wrong, and everything else just doesn't matter because he's Superman, and it doesn't have to matter to him.
Yeah. But here's the thing, right? This should have been a Superboy movie, like from when he's in high school. And he just realizes that global conflict is a thing. And he's like, I have powers. I can stop a war.
That would be a very. I would watch that movie. The high school boy that can just like stop a war.
Yeah, I would watch the fuck out of it. And
I'm pretty sure that's Smallville.
Well, yeah, but it can also be, when the Legion of Superheroes comes from the future and they're like, yeah, you can't do this. You're fucking up the entire timeline. And they have a big, cool fight. And you get to see lots of superhero powers. And then Superboy's like, I'm going to try and stop the war anyways,
Yeah. Clay,
But-
you had your hand up?
Yeah. Superboy lends itself more to those oversimplified but large topics than like an adult Superman.
I agree.
I do think there might be a place. I think this is just my 2 cents, not another question. And then I have one more question. I think there might be a place sometimes for twirly mustache villains and just really good guys. Like, to be honest, I think we miss that sometimes in this cynical sphere of cinema that we've entered. And I like cynicism. I don't mind cynicism, especially in like the horror genre and stuff. But I'm just very tired of seeing it everywhere and kind of like leaking through every plot line, even the big summer blockbusters. That's why I've enjoyed movies like F1, where it's just like, yeah, Brad Pitt's the good guy. You did whatever. Like, we don't care. So the twirly mustache villain and the good guy, I don't think are entirely out of place here, but I do think you all have really good points of like, if you're going to introduce this plot point of him stopping a global conflict, then you're pulling your story into something a little more nuanced, and you better be ready to like adapt the characters to that nuance. And if you don't, they're going to be kind of like Clay mentioned earlier in the episode, maybe a bit of a clash of tone. And if your tone's not consistent, then that does cause a little bit of a jarring effect to your story. But Colin?
Brad Pitt's still trying to recover from what happened to him in Seven.
Yeah.
True. He never did fully recover.
He's still like fucked up over that storyline. Anyways,
It sent him straight to 12 Monkeys, and he's still in there.
He's still like, what is going on?
Yeah, you wonder, how good Clark Kent is as a journalist, if he's a little confused at the international political situation that is occurring.
Maybe he writes the gossip column before this.
I hope
not every journalist is the political journalist. Some of them are just like the fireman saved a cat from a tree.
All he does is interview himself, and Lois calls him out,
which is like the worst thing you can do as a journalist. Literally,
yeah.
The worst is lie about your interviews and your work.
Yeah.
That raises quite a bit of morality question around Superman too. It's like that's kind of a bit of a loophole there in the Superman system, that he's just totally okay with that. That has no bearing on good. Like, and I guess it's because he interprets himself as telling the truth, so he doesn't see anything wrong with delivering the truth, but is his truth the truth?
Yeah, I mean, as a journalist,
It's Superman, so yeah, probably
what you are not supposed to do.
Yeah,
Colin, your brand new child would be very proud of you. You raised a great point.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was gonna mention is I feel like now there's a very clear and obvious insidious plan for billionaires to take over countries that involves not anything to do with foreign interference, interference in foreign countries and stuff. It's much more insidious in terms of like, devices in our houses and rigging elections and stuff. So I was confused as to like the very end. Luther's ultimate plan is to become king of a new country in some area, and like that doesn't seem nearly as evil to me anymore in the modern day as like rigging elections in your complete favor of whoever you choose by utilizing, changing voting machines and gerrymandering and things. Like, why is a billionaire arch villain looking, across the world for becoming a king?
Yeah,
maybe
we're
setting something up, but that seemed like, low-hanging fruit of a true arch villain that I would imagine.
Yeah.
Clay?
Bro already has his own damn universe. You know, what's he got to rule Little Lutherville for? Just
Pocket
fucking like,
dimension.
just like do the Cartman thing, you know, and like have your sea people. Or, you know, if you want to go back further than that, do the Simpsons thing, because the Simpsons did do it first. But like, just do that. Just like raise your own. You got people in there already. You got a full prison system already installed. Like, why does he care about having a country? I agree, Colin. Ludicrous.
See-
Don't look too
See,
long.
the movie does actually tell you. Lex Luthor tells you himself that ruling his own country was actually just kind of a byproduct of his plan to murder Superman.
Yeah.
Which
His
ultimate
that's
plan
dumb.
was
he's
to
trying
murder.
way too hard, but like, you know, there you go. That's what it is.
If
could
he
give-
was so hard to kill Superman, how come
Well,
he
he is
didn't just
rock
pull
hard
out
about
his
killing
secret
Superman.
weapon just right away?
I mean, but
He
the
had
thing is,
kryptonite. He has like kryptonite,
Yeah.
and he could have killed Superman right there. But he does the classic villain thing of like, well, I'll give you time to escape.
but I mean, the thing is, it is a comic book in film format, and so even though there's a lot of things that I think are perfectly valid arguments, it's still a fun ass movie, and like, I still
True.
enjoyed watching it. I had a list of things that I could criticize, but I still really had a good time. And there are a lot of movies that I cannot say that about, you know.
That's very true. It was a fun movie.
Yeah.
Has been a lot of negativity, but let's get rid of that cynicism.
My final question to get rid of the cynicism and just to take the wheels completely off the tracks. It's not even about Superman, Arley. I got to ask you to help us with the show in the future. So my segment that I just added, we're test running this season, the whole wasn't a flop. I can track movies. Like the box office numbers are easy to track. You run a magazine and you're very good at it. And it has, to my knowledge, it has a segment that like talks about the best books, the books that are selling high in the fantasy and or science fiction realm. How do you find that out, man? Where do you go? How do you know what is success in the literature realm? Because I know the New York Times best-selling list is kind of bullshit.
Well, a lot of the metrics are bullshit. But I think in writing, everyone here is a writer, right? You're all writers, correct?
Not me.